Hello, everyone. I'm Ruth McDermott-Levy. I'm a professor at Villanova University, and I'm also co-director of the Mid-Atlantic Center for Children's Health and the Environment. And what we do at the Mid-Atlantic Center is, my slides didn't move forward. Just a second, there we go. We address children's and reproductive environmental health. So if there are things that you may be concerned about with possible exposures such as lead or chemicals or mold, you can contact us and we can help you navigate that. We also educate healthcare professionals about environmental exposures through webinar series and through individual consultations. We cover Pennsylvania, where Philadelphia is located, and also Virginia, West Virginia, Delaware, Maryland, and the District of Columbia. So if you know anyone in these areas, you can refer them to us if they have reproductive or children's environmental health questions. As you can see on the map to the left, there are a pediatric environmental health specialty unit across the United States, and you can identify which state and what region a person is in. If you can't contact that particular pediatric environmental health specialty unit, you can contact us and we will help you make that connection. We are funded by the Centers of Disease Control, and that organization within the Center of Disease Control and Prevention is the Agency for Toxic Substance and Disease Registry. So that's essentially the toxicologists of the United States. We also are funded by the Environmental Protection Agency of the United States, and we work closely with people in those agencies. So I want to talk to you about pests in your home, and if you've had that experience, you know they can be very annoying and frustrating to deal with. So we're going to talk about how to deal with them safely and prevention. The three big problems in Philadelphia are bed bugs, roaches, and mice. And so they're the three that we're going to talk about. When we think about pests, pests are living things, and so like us, they want three things. They want food, water, and shelter. And so what I say to people is you want to think about not being a good host to these pets, trying to eliminate places where there may be water. Consider what kind of shelter that these pests like, and we're going to talk about that. And then not offering food, and we'll talk about how to eliminate that risk. So we're going to start with bed bugs. And generally they are the size of an apple seed, so they're very tiny. And as they get older and get exposed to eating blood, because that's what they do, so you'll see bite marks on people. They start out kind of flat, and then they get balloon-like and reddish brown if they've fed recently. And as I said, they feed on blood. They are just like any other bugs with the four parts of the bug and wings that they're not used to fly. And bed bugs in particular are smelly, and they have a musky, sweetish odor. So it can kind of smell like stale air that is sweet. And so that can kind of be another indication that you have a bed bug problem. And we'll look at pictures of bed bugs in this next slide. And so I'm not going to go into over here on the right, you can see the egg that is forming, the little white eggs. And then as they grow, they're tiny and white, but then they get more brownish in color. But they still are very, very small, only 5 millimeters. So again, tiny little bugs the size of an apple seed. So how do you know if you have bed bugs? Well, you can get these reddish stains on the bed sheets or mattresses that, after the bugs have fed, they can have some red from the blood. And you can also get tiny dark spots on fabric. And so that can be an indication. You also may see the welts on your skin too as an indication. Bed bugs hide around a bed. They like kind of, warm places to hide. So around a bed, inside seams of chairs and couches. So thinking about, what you bring into your house, you want to make sure that they aren't coming from a place that has bed bugs. They also, again, since they like warm places, electrical receptacles, so you can see the outlet in the picture below, and then appliances. Loose wallpaper is another place they may hide. And then also at where the ceiling and the wall meet, you may find them there too. So that can be a sign that you have bed bugs, but typically is the stains on the bed sheets that let people know it's a problem. So how do you get rid of them? Well, this is an area that requires a professional. So if you're renting your home, you need to let your landlord know that you have a bed bug problem, and that's really important. And then, as I said, you want to inspect any secondhand furniture that you would bring into your home. Sometimes you'll see a sofa or a mattress out on the street that people are giving away. Think twice before you bring that in, because again, you don't want to take someone else's problem and bring it into your home. When you do have mattresses, make sure you have protective covers over those mattresses. That's not only good for keeping bugs away, but it's also good for asthma. So, any mattress or box spring, get those plastic covers that they sell in Target or a store like that. You want to reduce any clutter in your home where the bugs may hide. And this is the same when we think about roaches that we'll get to. Vacuum your home frequently with an electric sweeper. And then also if you're using a shared laundry facility, bring your clothes to the place in a plastic bag and remove them from the dryer and place them in a plastic bag. The heat of the dryer will kill the bugs, so that's very good, but you don't want bugs hopping on your clean clothes and bringing them home. So keep them in a plastic bag as you remove them from your laundry facility. And then in multifamily homes, where there may be many people living in the building, you want to seal openings in your home so that they cannot come in through the cracks and crevices. Because again, these are very tiny little bugs that can be quite a problem. So that's a way to manage that. As I said, this requires a professional, and it does usually require chemical pesticides, which can be a risk for your home, but it's the only way to get rid of them. So only professionals should be applying these pesticides. It should not be the person who lives there. There's things known as foggers that release the pesticide into the air, and they really are, they're also called bug bombs. They are not effective. What they do is they just chase the bugs away, and then once that wears off, they come back. So again, you really need a professional that can look at the problem and determine the safest way to manage it. So when you talk to your professional, you want to ask them to use the least toxic pesticides and that is labeled specifically for bed bugs. And also make sure you're following all instructions by the professional, and have them let you know when it's safe for you to re-enter the room that's been treated. As I said, you want to avoid the spray pesticides on mattresses or box springs, because that's where people are, and that can just you're then exposed to those chemicals that can be problematic. They tend to use steam or heat to get rid of them, or bed bug, as I said, bed bug proof covers can be very helpful. In Philadelphia, we have a fabulous resource known as Penn State Integrated Pest Management. Sometimes you'll hear it referred to as IPM. Their phone number is here, and you will have access to these slides, but I will read it. It's 215-471-2200. And they can help you. They have many resources, and they can help you manage this problem and can make referrals. Again, I recommend, if you have this problem, reach out to them, because they can help you navigate it. We can also help you navigate it too. So you can also call us at the Mid-Atlantic Center for Children's Health and the Environment. The second pest that many of you, I'm sure, have experienced living in the city. It's very common, is cockroaches. And let me say, cockroaches and bed bugs and lice or any of those things is no reflection of the person. It's no reflection of your cleanliness. It is an issue within when people live close together in cities. And so we want to do the best we can to manage it. And so it's important that you talk about it and don't hide that you have this problem. So again, the same is true for cockroaches as it is for bed bugs. Do not be a good host. So we don't want to offer food, water, or shelter. So let's talk about what roaches like to eat. So they prefer food, so as opposed to the bed bugs that like people. So they like sweet and starchy foods, sometimes greasy foods and meat. And it just takes a drop of grease to feed several roaches. So it does, they're little, and so it doesn't take much food. So you really want to be very vigilant about keeping your kitchen clean and your counters clean. They also like cheese if it's moldy, and then any kind of decaying organic matter. So that can also include things like cardboard that's breaking down, paper. And so, if you have stacks of cardboard or book bindings or wallpaper, glue, even soap sometimes they'll eat, or makeup. So they are not that picky. So we don't want to engage them, and we want to keep these things covered and at a minimum. So again, you don't want to share your food. So in your kitchen, as I said, after you're done eating, you want to wipe down the countertops. You want to wash your dishes and put it away. I know sometimes we're all very tired, and I'll deal with the dishes in the morning. That is not a good idea because the roaches come out at night. So clean after eating, get in the habit of just wiping down your countertops and washing the dishes and putting them away. You also need to store your food safely. So in a covered, put your leftover food cover it and put it in your refrigerator. You can have the containers like I'm showing here for the refrigerator. Often you can also, put it in a bowl and put a dish on top of the bowl. Works as a container as well. And that also keeps your food from spoiling. Remove any pet food that you may have, or keep that pet food covered, but don't leave the dog's bowl or the cat's bowl with food out overnight. And you want to empty your garbage cans and remove the clutter, because as I said, they like cardboard and paper bags, the glue that hold paper bags together. So these are the things that cockroaches like, and so we don't want to have that around to be a good host for them. So this is a picture of really kind of doing some good investigation. After you wash your dishes, you need to also clean the trap that's in the sink, because that is a feast for a large family of cockroaches. And again, the crumbs that may be left. So this is an opportunity to get the whole family involved. There's no reason why the children can't wipe off countertops. They cannot work with pesticides, though. Again, that's a profession. After, you want to check they like to drink as well, so you want to check your sinks to see if they are any leaks either coming from the faucet or under the sink. So check in the cabinet below that there's no leaks. If there are leaks, this is a time that the landlord would get involved. And then also remove any cups or pet water overnight. So before you turn off the lights of the kitchen, you want to look around and see where is a place that may entice your roaches to show up. And then for shelter for roaches, as I said, they like to hide as well. So clutter is a great place for them to hide. They also will be inside walls or cabinets throughout the house. So in the basement, attics, any waste bins. They like warm areas, so you may find them inside microwaves or computers or any smoke alarms. Any electronics that are running is a place where they may be keeping warm. And then also you may see them in entry holes. So you want to look around to see where they might be coming into your house, and looking both inside and outside. and making sure those holes are patched up. For this, management of roaches is done by the resident. So this is what you want to do. And again, you want to keep your place clean and do not be a good host to provide food for the roaches, and don't provide shelter with hiding places. What we don't recommend sprays for managing roaches. What we recommend is what's called bait. And it's either in a puck, and I have a picture of that on the next slide, or gel. And so you can put the pucks out where the roaches are living. You want to make sure that children don't play with them. So you may need to put them in cupboards, but that will attract the roaches, and they'll eat that. They'll go away and they will not come back. And then you leave the puck there until it is empty. Then you throw it out. Okay, so that's kind of, they think it's food. It will kill the roaches and send them away. And then, or gels are the same thing, but the gels can be used in the cracks that you may find, and that will keep them away. And again, only use these if you have roaches. You don't use these for prevention. You use them when you have the roaches there. So this is what pucks look like, and you can get these at a hardware store. And you can ask for a roach puck. And then this is what the gel looks like. And you can see this faucet that's under a sink. There's a crack right there that a roach can come in. So that's a great place to put some gel if you have roaches. And they also have a puck right there. So, that's an example of something that roaches can come in. They eat that, and they are not coming back. And the last pest we're going to talk about, again, a very common pest in Philadelphia, is mice. And mice do not eat paper, unlike our roach friends, but they like food scraps and pet food. And so again, it's all very similar. So if you do all of it together, don't be a good host with food and water and a place to hide, you'll manage these three pests. So, put food, don't leave food scraps around, cover your food, put it away or have it in a garbage container, and keep the garbage container covered. Keep your kitchen area clean. And again, don't leave those dirty dishes in the sink. The thing with mice is, as they walk, they constantly are urinating or peeing. And so that leaves a trail for all their friends where to find the food. So you really, it's that they're going to show up, and then everyone else is going to show up. So if you can not entice them with your food, you're ahead of the game. They also like cracks. You can see the little mouse peeking out here. They are cute, but you don't want them in your home. So you would cover the cracks and openings. You can use wire mesh for cracks. And then also, if there's large openings in your home, that needs to be managed by the landlord. And so there are times you need to call the owner of the building if you don't own your building. This is a nice little cartoon of what mice like about your home. First of all, they can live up to 3 years, so the idea is not to let them in. They can build nests. They like soft places, so they may shred paper. They may shred a sofa, or any kind of pillow area to make for themselves. They are up at night. So, after you go to bed, they're roaming around in your kitchen and getting any scraps that are left. They do prefer food that is dry and stored in a bag, and they can nibble through the bag. So that's why you want to store either pet food or any of your food in at least a hard plastic container. You can also use glass containers. I like to use glass. And what I do use is I use a lot of leftover pickle jars that I wash out for rice and pasta, or spaghetti jars that I wash out from spaghetti sauce. So, it doesn't have to be expensive to manage this. This photo here, it shows the little cookie that's nibbled. So that can be a sign if you see things that are half-eaten, and you think that's odd, that usually is an indication you have some sort of pest, usually a rodent, like a mouse. And then also you can see their droppings. So if you see those, that's another indication. So to get rid of mice, again, keep your garbage cans covered, seal any openings. A mouse can shrink as small as the tip of a pencil. And so here's a pencil tip. It can get as small as this. So, think like a mouse and look at what openings are tiny enough and seal those off. You can stuff them with a hole or a crack with copper mesh or steel wool, and that can keep them out. Not regular wool, they'll chew through that and make it a bed, but steel wool. And then also you can use a silicone caulk or any kind of spackle or sealant or cement will keep them out. Weather stripping can also keep them out, but these are not chew proof. Sometimes they'll chew through those. So that's things to think about. Sheet metal or screens for outside. And if you have mice in your home, you want to use snap traps. And I have a picture on the next slide. You do not use poisons in your home. You've got children in the home, you've got adults. None of us need to be exposed to that. So, and it also, the snap traps does the tricking and finishes the job, really, that it will kill the mouse. So this is what a snap trap looks like. You put the food up here on the yellow portion, and then you very carefully set it so that when the the mice eats the food, this copper colored piece of metal snaps down on the mouse and takes care of, unfortunately, of the mouse, but they're out of your house. So other things to think about with food storage are that, again, placing your food in hard containers, so either heavy plastic or glass containers, and then refrigerate any food that can spoil, such as meat, fish, dairy, or eggs. And a good rule, and this is the rule we use in our house, is we only keep refrigerated leftovers for 1 week. And you can use a marker to date it. I tend to remember of, okay, what do we have for dinner on Tuesday? Well, then, it's this Tuesday, it's time to get rid of it. You also want to check for smell and look for signs that it's going bad. If it looks slimy or moldy, certainly get rid of it. It's not worth getting sick for food that has gone bad. Dry food such as nuts, rice, or cereal are best stored in a cupboard in a hard plastic container, or, as I said, a glass container. And if you'd ever come to my house, you'd find out I have a lot of jars that I save for this very reason. And as I said, it doesn't cost me anything because I had already gotten the jars, from the food I had purchased. These are examples of heavy plastic containers for your cereals. You can also, I store flour in these containers, sugar, all of those things, so that it keeps pests away. And then here, oops, wait a minute. Here is examples of, these are glasses jars that you would purchase just for containing things. But as I said, you can wash out and save your jars and reuse them from food that you purchase. And then a reminder of how important it is to refrigerate food that can go bad, so that it gives the food longer shelf life. Actually, if you keep it refrigerated, it lasts longer. So thank you so much for listening. We are available. You can ask the Nationality Service Center for our information if you want to contact us. And we are here to help all of Philadelphia's children. So welcome to Philadelphia. And again, we're here to help support you.